So this is the video just for these two quadrilateral pictures on the back. And again, we want to find the area and the perimeter. Okay, remember that our area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height, and hopefully you remember that the area of a rectangle is just length times width. So these figures we're going to have to break down into a rectangle and a triangle, and this one's kind of already done for us. So if this is a rectangle, I know this side is 15 and this bottom here would be 17. And now since this whole thing is 30, if I just take 30 minus 17, I get 13. And that's going to be this little piece here, will be 13. So that 17 plus 13 gives me the 30. So the only thing I'm missing is this side. And I need that side to find perimeter. So I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So I have 13 squared plus 15 squared equals c squared, because c is what I'm looking for. This is my hypotenuse. That's c. So I can just plug that right into the calculator, and I get 394. And then I'll take the square root of both sides to get that c is 19.849. And so I'm going to just round that to one decimal place, 19.8. And now I'll find perimeter first. So that's just adding up all four sides. Remember, it's not the middle, it's just the outside four. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 15 is the left side, 17 is the top, 19.8 is that slanted side we just found, and 30 is the bottom. So when I add all that up, we get 81.8. And don't forget your units, that's millimeters. Now, finding the area is going to be a little bit trickier. We have to do two different areas, so I'm just going to label it A and B. And we've broken these up before, we just never broke them up into rectangles and triangles. Usually we were just breaking them up into a few rectangles. So the area of A is just length times width. So that's just 15 times 17, which is 255. And then the area of B is a triangle, 1/2 base times height. So the base is 13 and the height is 15. And 1/2 13 times 15 is 97.5. So our total area, we're just going to add those up. 255 plus 97.5 gives us a total area of 352.5. And again, don't forget your units. So that's millimeters squared. So we had to use the Pythagorean theorem one time. And we broke this down into a rectangle and a triangle, and then we added up those areas. But don't forget, when you're finding perimeter, don't find the perimeter of the rectangle and then the perimeter of the triangle and add them together. That's not right, because this 15 should not be included. It's just that outer pink edge that I have outlined there. That's your perimeter. So we're going to do one more like this. The only difference is this time it's not broken up for us. We have to do this separating ourselves. So I can see I can break this into a triangle and a rectangle again, and I'm just going to create this line straight across the bottom. Okay. So if I make this little rectangle here at the bottom, if this side is 10, that means this side is 10. Now this whole thing was 37, so if I subtract 10, that means that this piece has to be 27. So now the only thing I need to find is this bottom here. So I'm going to have to do the Pythagorean theorem to find that. So I'll have a squared, and I'll just make this a. A squared plus 27 squared is 45 squared. And I'll square both of those numbers. Now subtract 729 from both sides. So a squared is 1296, And then I'm going to take the square root of both sides to get that A is 36. So that means the bottom here is also 36. So now we're going to do the same exact thing that we did in the previous one. Perimeter is adding up all four sides. So I can outline them in pink again. So 37 is this whole side. The slant is 45. This little side is 10. And the bottom is 36. So I'm going to add all those up. The left plus the slant plus the right plus the bottom. And when I add all those up, my perimeter is 128. And don't forget units. Okay, and then now for my area, I have to do the same thing. I'm going to have A and B. A is a triangle, so that's 1/2 base times height. So that's 1/2 36 times 27. And that's going to be 486. And then B is a rectangle, length times width, so that's 10 times 36, which is 360. So my total is going to be 486 plus 360, which gives me 846. And don't forget units. So when you're trying to find the area of these quadrilaterals with four sides, break them down into a rectangle and a right triangle, and you might have to use Pythagorean theorem to find a missing side there. But then perimeter is just your outer edge, and then area you'll have to find the two in between and then add them up. If you have any questions, feel free to watch this video again, do some extra practice in the crate, or ask me for clarification.